And Kahmel Makled moves to 2-0 on his pro boxing career. Kahmel, you looked absolutely phenomenal, and I know you probably saw my video on Instagram this past weekend, but dude, you looked absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to Kahmel Makled, fighting out of New Way Training Center right here in Clinton Township, Michigan. Good for him. I mean, he looked absolutely dominant all fight. I mean, it only took 2 rounds this time. The first fight was the first round. This time he went to another round, but same result for Kahmel Makled. He won by TKO knockout. His opponent, I couldn't believe he was taking those shots, man. I mean, Kahmel was landing so many power shots, so many shots to the body, but his opponent wanted, he kept on coming after him. He kept on getting up, and Kahmel Makled definitely handled his business last Friday night at Hype Athletics in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. He looked absolutely phenomenal. So congrats again, Kahmel. You looked absolutely great. I mean, you were dominant throughout the entire fight. You handled your business, you kicked ass, and you moved to 2-0 on your pro boxing career. So Kahmel Makled, remember the name. Follow him on Instagram. He's on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And he's ready to dominate this sport. So yeah, it was awesome to witness a great moment. He had a lot of support from his family, from his friends, from everyone at New Way Training Center. It was a great crowd. It was great to see him handle his business. And like I said, he looked absolutely phenomenal. Like physically, he looked great in that fight. So Kahmel, once again, congratulations. You moved to 2-0 on your pro boxing career. You looked absolutely fantastic. And that's how we open Guys Time today here on the podcast. I was supposed to have an episode last week, didn't get to it, so we're going to do one today, but that's how we open this episode up, talking about my good friend, one of the best human beings I ever met in my life, Kahmel Makled, moving to 2-0 on his pro boxing career, handling his business, dominating. It was pure domination by Kahmel Makled, and he handled his business. He's 2-0 now. So you have that going on. But we got to talk about these Stanley Cup playoffs. We got Stanley Cup playoffs to talk about. We got the NBA playoffs to talk about as well. The Detroit Tigers, WrestleMania 41. You had night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania 41 this past weekend. We got some good boxing fights coming up within the next couple weeks. And then obviously this Thursday, all you football fans, you already know what's going to happen. You have the 2025 NFL Draft live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's going to be a really interesting one. The first round's this Thursday, 8 p.m. on ABC, ESPN, NFL Network. Check it out. We will end the show talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. But now we got to talk about these Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Stanley Cup playoffs started Saturday. You had the Blues and the Jets going at the Jets. They ended up winning that one 5-3. They were down 3-2 going into the third period against the Blues. The Red Hot Blues coming in. They won 12 straight. They had a 3-game losing streak for a minute there, and then they won their last game of the regular season against the Utah Hockey Club. Dominated that game 6-1. So, the Blues, definitely a team to watch out for. I mean, they had the lead in this game against the Jets, who won the President's Trophy. You guys, if you saw my video this past weekend, the Jets, President's Trophy, best team in the regular season. Usually, especially these past couple years, I can always remember the 2018-19 Tampa Bay Lightning getting swept. Yeah, completely swept out of the playoffs by a wild card Columbus Blue Jackets team many years ago. The 2018-19 season. So in recent years, the President's Trophy, it doesn't really matter if you're the best team in hockey for the regular season. It matters if you show up in the playoffs. And the President's Trophy's winners definitely have had their struggles these past few years in these playoffs. But yeah, the Jets came back and they won 5-3 against the St. Louis Blues. Kyle Connor had the go-ahead goal late in the third period to break the 3-3 tie. And then Adam Lowry, had the empty netter with 53 seconds left in the game. Mark Schieffel, he had a goal and 2 assists. He's been there for a really long time. He's the Jets' all-time leader in playoff points with 41. So, yeah, this was a really interesting game. Like I said, you had the President's Trophy winners, the Winnipeg Jets. First time they won that in their franchise's history. The Red Hot Blues, St. Louis Blues coming in. in this matchup, a wild card team out in the Western Conference there. Anything could have happened in this game, and obviously the Jets were able to come back and win this one after being down 3-2 going into the third after the second intermission. So now you got the next game tonight at 7:30 ESPN. The Jets are up 1-0 in the series, 7-game series. So that's the beauty of hockey. All these rounds of the playoffs, and then obviously the Stanley Cup final. They're all the best of 7. So we're going to see a lot of good hockey, some hits. We're going to see some good goals. We're going to see some great moments. We're going to see some horrible calls because the referees, right? Especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs and, obviously all the playoffs, NBA, NFL. The officiating is going to be bad. But you know what? So far, they haven't been too bad, these referees. But yeah, the Blues and the Jets, very exciting matchup. They got Game 2 tonight, Blues and Jets. 7:30 p.m. as I mentioned, ESPN. Check that one out. And then you had another game on Saturday night. You had the Colorado Avalanche, great team, great hockey team there, going up against the struggling Dallas Stars, especially coming into these playoffs this past weekend. The Avalanche handled their business. They absolutely dominated. They absolutely crushed the soul of the Dallas Stars. They won this one 5-1. The Stars, with that loss, they have an 8-game losing streak. So they had a 7-game losing streak coming into the playoffs, but now they lost Game 1 against Colorado of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now they have an 8-game losing streak. And their last win, the Dallas Stars, their last win was April 3rd. That's damn near 3 weeks ago. So that's not good. And they won that game against the Nashville Predators 5-1. But 3 weeks without victory, I mean, what's going on with the Dallas Stars? I mean, you're in the playoffs now, dude. You can't be messing around. I mean, you guys look like absolute garbage. I watched this game, and I'm saying to myself, is this truly a playoff hockey team? I mean, there could have been other teams that could have went to the playoffs. Maybe the Detroit Red Wings, maybe the Boston Bruins, maybe the Calgary Flames, maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Dallas Stars do not look like a playoff team. I mean, especially with the 8-game losing streak. What the hell is going on with this team? What's going on with the coaching? I mean, if you keep this up, the Colorado Avalanche is going to sweep you out of the playoffs in the first round. I mean, I don't understand that. The Dallas Stars look bad. I mean, they look horrible. You have Jamie Benn, your star player, the guy who's been there for many years, 0 goals and 0 assists in the 5-1 loss. I mean, that's your guy. That is your captain. And he didn't do anything. He didn't do crap in this game against Colorado Avalanche. And then Colorado, obviously, their best player, Nathan McKinnon, had 2 goals and assists. So he had 3 points in this game. He's actually contributing something to his team, unlike Jamie Benn. But the Dallas Stars, how did this team make it to the playoffs? I mean, dude, when you have a 7-game losing streak going into the playoffs, and now you have a total of 8 games, an 8-game losing streak with the loss this past weekend against Colorado Avalanche, how did you even make it here? I mean, this is horrible. The franchise, I mean, it looks bad. If you're a fan of the Dallas Stars, I feel sorry for you. I really do, because after you're watching that game and just how Dallas has performed going into the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win the game. They get swept by the Colorado Avalanche. They looked absolutely awful. I mean, it was disgusting. It was disgusting to see that, and it just baffles my mind that the Dallas Stars made it to the playoffs. Well, you got Colorado, so good luck with that one, because this team is kicking ass and taking names, and they got star players and guys who are actually contributing to the success of the franchise. So the next game for the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars is actually tonight, 9:30 p.m. On ESPN. It's going to be after the Blues and Jets game. So you got a couple games going on there tonight on ESPN for the Stanley Cup Finals, or Stanley Cup playoffs there, excuse me. So those were the 2 Saturday night games. Obviously, the Blues and Jets, the more exciting game with the 5-3 victory for the Winnipeg Jets. And then obviously this Avalanche and the Stars, Colorado Avalanche dominating the Dallas Stars 5-1 in that one. But hopefully, maybe tonight, Dallas can flip the script, because something needs to happen. If they go down 2-0 against the Avalanche, and Dallas is home. That's another part. Like, they're playing at home Like, Colorado's the road team. So if you take this series back to Colorado, if you're the Dallas Stars, you're not winning the game in Colorado. You're not. So Dallas needs to win tonight. A must win for Dallas against the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see what happens tonight. 9:30 p.m. ESPN, Stars, Avalanche, and then 7:30 p.m. ESPN. The first game tonight, game 2. Both games are game 2. The St. Louis Blues and the Jets, the Winnipeg Jets, come on first. So you got that going on. Play some bets. It's good. Those two games should be good ones tonight. And now yesterday's games. Happy Easter. Happy belated Easter, I should say. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves, watched some sports, spent time with your family. You had 3 games going on for the Stanley Cup playoffs yesterday. The first one was the Hurricanes and the Devils. The Carolina Hurricanes, I mean, they slapped the New Jersey Devils right in the face. I mean, they embarrassed them on the ice. And the Hurricanes are playing at home, so they won 4-1 in this game. The shots were 45-24 in favor of the Canes. So every time they were on that ice, they were shooting the puck like you're supposed to, right? And that's why the Canes are such a great team, especially the past few years. They made it to the playoffs and they dominated these playoffs. It just seems like they can never make it to the Stanley Cup Finals because there's that one team that stops them dead in their tracks. Like the first round, they're ready to go. I mean, look at the stats here. 45 shots to New Jersey's 24. So they're ready to score points and score goals, obviously, with that. And then the block shots, 16-13 in favor of the Canes. They're playing defense. Like, you're not going to shoot on our goalie. Like, this is our territory. Get that puck out of here. So you had that. And then the power play goal, the Canes had the one power play goal in this game. And power play goals are difference makers, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You need to have power play goals in order for success to happen in these playoffs. And the Canes got the power play goal. But they dominated 4-1 against the New Jersey Devils. They didn't look good at all. I mean, they just looked sloppy all game, and I was watching most of this game, and I'm just wondering, like, why are they not taking shots? There's so many opportunities, and they just didn't take them. You know, Hurricanes, every time they touched the puck, they were shooting within seconds. You know, they didn't, you know, they passed because obviously that's the game now, but they saw an opening, bam, you shoot. And yeah, 45-24 shots in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe that's why they ended up winning 4-1. Yeah, put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? Hockey's not a complicated game. It really isn't. So you have that going on. The next game between these two teams, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. on ESPN. That's going to be a good one there. So you have that. And then the second game last night, it was the Ottawa Senators wildcard team in the Western Conference. They got the top. The Eastern Conference. Excuse me. They had the top wildcard spot for many weeks there. So they're a wildcard team going up against the Maple Leafs. This is the Battle of Ontario. So this is a rivalry game. It was all very chippy, very, very chippy. I thought I was watching WrestleMania. We'll get to that in a little bit, so hold your horses. But I thought I was really watching WrestleMania or boxing or mixed martial arts. These guys were beating the crap out of each other. Very physical. The entire game, it was just back and forth. Battle of Ontario, but the Leafs ended up winning this one 6-2. So they definitely dominated there. Yeah, John Tavares, who's an alternate captain for the Maple Leafs. William Nylander, Mitch Marner, all had goals in this game. And then Austin Matthews had 2 assists. So when you have all your star players, you know, making plays, contributing to the success of your team, you know, finding ways to win game 1 on home ice, you're going to have good success. And all the Maple Leafs star players definitely contributed to this game. So you had that going on. But then we got to talk about the Ottawa side. Obviously, Brady Tkachuk, 0 goals and 0 assists, excuse me. Just like Jamie Benn for the Dallas Stars. This is supposed to be one of your top guys, and Brady Tkachuk if you're the Ottawa Senators. And he didn't do anything. No goals, no assists, nothing. You guys got dominated. The Senators got absolutely destroyed by the Maple Leafs. 6-2. That's not good. I mean, they got to come back Tuesday night, 7:30 on ESPN2. I mean, they have to win a game in Toronto. They have to before they go to Ottawa for Game 3. So Ottawa needs to wake up. Dallas Stars needs to wake up. I mean, and even I'll put in the New Jersey Devils in there as well. These are teams that got dominated this weekend, and they need to wake up going forward. So the next game for the Battle of Ontario between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators is Tuesday, 7:30 on ESPN 2. So check that one out as well. Play some bets. It's going to be a good one. But then we got the late game last night. I didn't watch this because, the West Coast, their games don't start till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Dude, I'm in bed. Yeah, you can call me old. I'm 28, so you can call me an old man if you want. But, and I like the Golden Knights. They're a very exciting team. They've been around since 2017. So 8 years they've been around, and I've always appreciated that franchise. We need expansion, and they are a great expansion team. I mean, you all remember their first year in the NHL. Their first year as an NHL franchise, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. But unfortunately, they lost to Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. But dude, how does an expansion team make it to the Stanley Cup Finals? That was crazy. But anyways, you had the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild play last night. Golden Knights won 4-2 in that one. Power play goals, Vegas had 2 of them, so obviously a big advantage there. Shots 27-20 in favor of Vegas. Block shots again in favor of Vegas, 25-16. So Vegas complete game from this team. Shooting the puck, blocking shots, taking advantage of those power plays with the man advantage. Had 2 power play goals against the Minnesota Wild last night, and they ended up winning 4-2. See, crazy, right? So talking about Vegas a little bit. So they entered the league in 2017. I was 21 years old. I'm 28 now. So yeah, 7 years have passed by. But they've made it to the playoffs 7 out of the 8 years that they've been in existence. So 7 playoff appearances in 8 years. They won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago, back in 2023. I mean, they're fun to watch, man. Like I said, I've always appreciated them when they were coming out. When they were the first expansion team to come out in a very long time. I always liked the team. I always thought they had a good roster. There's still a lot of good guys from that 2017-18 championship team still on the Vegas Golden Knights today. So it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch that team. But yeah, Minnesota, another team that needs to pick it up a little bit. I mean, you guys. I mean, you go back to Vegas, and it's not going to end well for Minnesota. So the next game for the Vegas Golden Knights and Minnesota Wild, Tuesday, 11 p.m. I'll be in bed. I know, you can call me an old man if you want. On ESPN. So I might watch a little bit of that game. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, Vegas winning game 1 against Minnesota there last night, 4-2. But now tonight, we finally got game 1 of the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. Game 1 starts tonight on ESPN, 7 p.m. The Canadiens got the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference, beating out the Columbus Blue Jackets. They beat the Canes, the Carolina Hurricanes. Excuse me. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes last Wednesday 4-2 to get the final spot, wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. And then the Capitals, you had Alexander Ovechkin. This has been the big talking point all season. Alexander Ovechkin, is he going to break Wayne Gretzky's record? You damn right he is. He broke the record a couple weeks ago. He surpassed Wayne Gretzky to have the all-time goals, to become the all-time goals leader in NHL history. He has 897 career goals. Alexander Ovechkin has. So congrats to him. He deserves it. He's one of the best hockey players to ever live. It would be fitting. It would be absolutely awesome if he was able to win another Stanley Cup, and then after that he can retire. Like you don't need to prove anything else. You'll be a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, all-time goals leader. I don't think anyone's going to pass him. But that's what they said about Gretzky, and obviously his record stood until like a few weeks ago. So anything can happen. Records are meant to be broken. But Alexander Ovechkin, if they do win the Stanley Cup, that would be absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, the Capitals, great team despite Alexander Ovechkin becoming an all-time goals leader. in NHL history, passing the great one himself, Wayne Gretzky. This team's a great team. So this is going to be a very exciting matchup. This season, Alexander Ovechkin's got 44 goals. He's got 29 assists, so 73 points for the 40-year-old out of Russia. So he's unbelievable. And like I said, he's looking for another Stanley Cup victory. They won it back in 2018, as I mentioned, against the newly formed Vegas Golden Knights team. Barry Trotz was the coach. He's the general manager now for the Nashville Predators. He was the coach for the Nashville Predators for a very long time. So, yeah, the Capitals and the Canadiens, man. The Canadiens, original 6 team, and then Toronto, another original 6 team. And notice how those teams are Canadian, right? And they're original 6. All other American original 6 teams, Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, Boston Bruins, and the New York Rangers, first time ever in NHL history. First time ever. Those teams have not made it to the playoffs. All American original 6 teams missed the playoffs for the first time ever in NHL history. I mean, you can't make this up. That's insane. And then the 2 Canadian teams, the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs, end up making it. So crazy, crazy stuff going on in the NHL. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. For the 9th straight year, the Detroit Red Wings don't make it to the playoffs. It's embarrassing. Something needs to happen. I don't know if, do we call for Steve Yzerman to get fired? I don't know. It's bad. But yeah, the first time ever in NHL history, the 4 American original 6 teams, Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, Boston Bruins, and the New York Rangers, all of them missed the playoffs. First time ever. So you have that going on. But the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs are in. So the 2 Canadian teams, they invented this sport. So you bet your ass they better make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So you have that going on. But yeah, Canadiens, Capitals, Game 1 is on tonight, 7 p.m. Check that one out. And then you also have Game 2 of the Blues, as I mentioned, against the Jets. And then you got the Colorado Avalanche going up against the Dallas Stars in Game 2 at 9:30. And then the 10 o'clock game, you got the Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, going up against the LA Kings. That's going to start at 10 p.m. because, of course, they're on the West Coast playing in California. So those are the 4 games on for the Stanley Cup playoffs. 2 Game 2s, 2 Game 2s, 1 game, or 2 Game, excuse me, 2 Game 2s, 2 Game 1s, all going at it tonight. Stanley Cup playoffs, check it out. It's gonna be a wild one tonight. So play some bets. It's gonna be good. So you have that. That's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Best time of the year. Best playoff format. I mentioned it numerous times right here on the podcast. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're doing a really good job with that as well. But now we got to talk about the NBA playoffs because the Detroit Pistons, first time since 2019, they are in the playoffs. We got to talk about this Game 1 debacle, this Game 1 disaster committed by the Detroit Pistons. So Pistons, Knicks, the New York Knicks, Game 1, the Knicks won this one, 123-112. How did that happen? Well, let me tell you. The New York Knicks, they went on a 21-0 run late in the fourth quarter. Completely dominated the Detroit Pistons in the fourth quarter. Like, this game was actually pretty competitive for 3/4 of this game. Like, it was really competitive. Like, I was actually getting into it. I don't really care for basketball. You guys know this. You guys know that. But I was watching this game this past weekend, and it was actually pretty exciting. Until the fourth quarter happened. And then the fourth quarter happened, and then the Detroit Pistons decided, okay, we're going to just play like it's a pickup game, or we're going to play like youth basketball and make all these stupid mistakes and boneheaded decisions. But a 21-0 run by the New York Knicks late in the fourth quarter. Of course you're going to win the game. You scored 21 points and you held the other team to 0. Of course you're going to win. And they did. So you had that going on. 21-0 run by the New York Knicks. You had the Pistons committing 21 total turnovers. Turnovers are going to kill you in this game, especially in the NBA playoffs. You have to protect the ball. And the Detroit Pistons didn't. 21 total turnovers. They had a 9-point lead at one point in the fourth quarter. The Detroit Pistons did, but that 21-0 run killed them. Absolutely killed them. But congrats to the Knicks, man. They kept fighting. So you had that, and then 25 points was given up by the Pistons off of turnovers. So those turnovers, those 21 total turnovers, the Knicks took advantage of those turnovers, obviously, right? Because that's basketball, and they scored 25 points off the turnovers. So it was ugly. It was a complete and utter collapse by the Detroit Pistons. Game 2, tonight, 7:30, they have to win in New York. They have to win the game in New York, the Detroit Pistons do. So you have that. The Knicks, free throw percentage, 88.2 versus Detroit's 75%. The Knicks field goal percentage, 52.7% versus Detroit's 47.7%. So, the Knicks had the hot hand late in that fourth quarter. So, Pistons, Knicks, Game 2, live from New York City, Madison Square Garden, one of the most iconic arenas / venues in the world. Game 2 tonight, 7:30 on TNT. Go Pistons. Clean that up. Limit the turnovers. And don't let the New York Knicks go on another 21-0 run. Please. Can you do that for us at least? Don't let New York get hot again. Detroit, you come out, start to finish. Finish that game. Get the W tonight. We go back to Detroit in a couple of nights. So you have that going on. 7:30 p.m. TNT, Pistons, Knicks. Check it out. Place some bets. Now we had the Clippers and the Knicks in Game 1 this past weekend. The Clippers and the Nuggets, excuse me. Clippers and Nuggets. Nuggets win this one. 112-110 in overtime. So really good game there. Game 2 is tonight at 10 p.m. The Nuggets lead 1-0 against the Clippers. So you have that going on. And then the Pacers and the Bucks. They played Saturday. They were the first game, I do believe, 1 p.m. on ESPN. The Pacers ended up winning that one, 117-98. So the next game is not until tomorrow night, 7 p.m. there. And then you had the Timberwolves and the Lakers. They were the late game on ABC Saturday night. The Timberwolves ended up winning that one, 117-95. And that's kind of crazy because you would think with the Lakers having LeBron James and Luka Doncic, 2 star players, right? You would think the Lakers wouldn't get a win. Nah, the Timberwolves said, not on my watch, and they handled their business. So Game 2 for the Timberwolves and the Lakers tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Check that one out. You had the Grizzlies and the Thunder. Game 1, Thunder winning that game, 131-80. Game 2 is actually tomorrow, 7:30. Check that one out. Magic, Celtics. Celtics, one of the most iconic basketball franchises, or one of the most iconic sports franchises in history. They ended up winning this one against the Orlando Magic, 103-86. Game 2 of that game is coming up Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then you had the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 1 seed, going up against the Miami Heat, the 8th seed. Cleveland winning that one, 121-100. Donovan Mitchell, their star player, looking absolutely fantastic. So Cleveland gets Game 1 there. Game 2 is not till Wednesday, 7:30. So check that one out. And then the last game of these playoffs, you got the Golden State Warriors going up against the Houston Rockets. The Warriors ended up winning this one, 95-85. So Golden State is up 1-0. They go to Game 2 Wednesday, 9:30. That'll be a very interesting one there. But yeah, the Pistons tonight. Get that win in New York. You need to limit the turnovers. Fourth quarter. From start to finish, you got to finish the game. Don't get sloppy. So you have that going on tonight. Go Pistons. So that's the NBA playoffs. Now we got to hop over to some baseball. We got to talk about these Tigers. Not too bad. Yeah, they lost last night or yesterday afternoon. Easter game against their rivals, the Kansas City Royals. They won 3 out of 4. Against the Royals, so that's not too bad. We'll take that. We'll take the majority of the series. But yeah, they lost yesterday, 4-3, 10 innings there. Riley Green, this guy, it seems like the past few weeks, he's just shut down. He's ice cold. He's in a big slump. And I know it's early. We're still in April. We got plus more games to go. But Riley Green, right now as we speak, 226 batting average, but he also has 31 strikeouts. He leads the team in strikeouts. And when you're Riley Green, you're supposed to be one of our top players, and you have that many strikeouts, and you're not getting the hits that you need. You're not getting on base like you're supposed to and scoring. That's not good, man. Like, and it seemed like yesterday, too, he didn't look good. And then in Milwaukee, there was a couple games where he went 0 for 3, 0 for 4. It's like, dude, yeah, I mean, you got to get something going because this is bad. So Riley Green, wake up, get back, get your head out of your ass, and let's play some baseball, dude. Because you got this San Diego Padres, one of the best teams so far in all baseball. You got them on tonight, 6:40 on Fox Sports 1. But I mean, you gotta figure something out, dude. Because you keep this up, you're gonna get shipped down to the minor leagues, and you don't want that. Just ask Spencer Torkelson how that went for him. And speaking of Spencer Torkelson, he leads the team in home runs. He's got 7 home runs. He leads the team and in RBIs. He's got 21 RBIs. He's batting 288, so pretty good, almost 300. I'd like to see 300 from Spencer Torkelson, but he leads the team in home runs and RBIs. I can't complain. He's good. He's playing some good baseball. So you have that going on, especially so many years of battling injuries and inconsistent play and just not being the athlete and the player that we need him to be for the Detroit Tigers. So far, he's looking good, but he's, like I said, it's early. This team has to stay healthy. Pitching has to be good. Our pitching has to be healthy. We go to the All-Star game in July. We'll see how we are. But right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Spencer Torkelson. But Riley Green, you got to pick up your slack, dude. You got to do something, man. Because every time I see you go 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 in a game, it's not a good sign. It's not good. So he needs to wake up. Torkelson's good. Kerry Carpenter, he leads the team in batting average, 315 batting average. So good for him. He's been playing some decent ball. You got Zach McKinstry there. You got some guys who can help us out. Tarek Skubal, pitching wise, he's our ace. The defending AL Cy Young Award winner, absolutely dominated last year. Casey Mize is 3-1 on the year so far. Flaherty, he's had his struggles, but we need to start picking it up as a team because, like I said, our next game is tonight against the Padres, who are 16-6. They're first place in the NL West. But they did drop 2 out of 3 games this past weekend against the Houston Astros. So they're pretty mad. They're pretty upset. And so they're going to come out guns blazing, I do believe. So the Tigers have to do the same. And we're playing them at home, so that does help us out a little bit. We got a 3-game series there with the Padres, and then we got a 3-game series with the Baltimore Orioles. They're coming into town starting Friday, but then we go on the road. We got to play Houston. We got to play the LA Angels, the Colorado Rockies. So that's let's see, the 3, 6, 4. So 10 games on the road after this homestand. Obviously with the Padres next couple days, and then obviously after Baltimore, we start that 10-game away. Being away from the ballpark, that's where we gotta win our games right there. We gotta win against Houston. We gotta win against the Angels, the Colorado Rockies. But this homestand starting tonight against the Padres, you got Montero starting for us. He's got to go. And then Riley Green, he's got to go. He's got to wake up, figure something out. Limit the mistakes because I've seen some mistakes, especially in yesterday's game, fielding-wise. I mean, why are we throwing the ball in the dirt? Why are we throwing the ball, 10 feet above the guy's head? We got to clean that up. I know it's still early, but, dude, we got to win these games, especially tonight against the Padres, one of the best teams in baseball. 16-6. I mean, we got to go. We got to go tonight. So that game's tonight, 6:40 p.m. on FS1. Check it out. Go Tigers. But so far, man, Tigers are 13-9. They're first in the AL Central. I can't complain. But we got a lot more games to go. So we got to stay healthy. Pitching has to be on point. And we got to win these games at home. And then when we start our road stand with the Houston Astros, next Monday, April 28th, we got to win those games there because we're going to be away for 10 games. And then we don't come back till May 9th, where we open a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers. So go Tigers, handle your business, win your game tonight against the Padres. So you have that going on. That's baseball. We got to talk about WrestleMania. Yeah, we don't really talk about pro wrestling on the podcast too much, but I have to talk about WrestleMania 41 because it's like the Super Bowl of WWE. 2-night extravaganza. Night 1, I mean, I'll say it right now. It was 100 billion times better than Night 2. Like 100 billion. I mean, it's there's no comparison, right? Like if there was a comparison, that would be an insult to pro wrestling. Okay, Night 1 was so much better than Night 2. Night 2 just fell flat, man. I mean, there's still good matches, but I mean, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, that whole main event, you had Travis Scott coming out. I didn't understand it. I really didn't. It was I don't know. It was missing that spark, right? And I get it. It's John Cena's last WrestleMania. He became the WWE champion, 17-time world champion, beat Ric Flair's record. But there was, I mean, the show kind of ended in a crappy way, in a boring way. No energy, no life with Night 2 main event. It was awful. It was awful. So my opinion, I'm sure you guys have different opinions or maybe even the same opinions, but Night 1 main event, ending, whatever you want to call it, was so much better than Night 2. But yeah, Night 1, you had Jey Uso kicking it off against Gunther to become the new champion, the new World Heavyweight Champion. He was the Royal Rumble winner earlier this year, if you guys remember. So you had that going on. This was Night 1, by the way, Saturday night, 7 p.m. on Peacock. You know, tag team title match, New Day defeating the War Raiders, to become new champions. Jade Cargill defeated Naomi in the singles matchup. The United States Championship got switched. Jacob Fatu defeated LA Knight to become the new champion. El Grande Americano defeated Rey Fenix. Singles matchup there in the WWE Women's Championship match. You had Tiffany Stratton retaining her title against Charlotte Flair, who won the Women's Royal Rumble back in January. And then Night 1, main event, triple threat match. Seth Rollins, defeated the Tribal Chief himself, Roman Reigns, and the best in the world, CM Punk. We saw Paul Heyman turn on both Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and he aligned himself with Seth Rollins. That was crazy. That was awesome to watch. Paul Heyman's been around for so many years. Before I was even born, man. I mean, that guy, he's funny. Yeah, he's a funny guy. He knows how to talk on the mic. He knows how to act. But yeah, he turns on his tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and his first really advocate, or one of his first advocates, I should say, CM Punk. Obviously, one of his first advocates from many years ago was Brock Lesnar. But yeah, and Paul Heyman turned on both CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and he aligns himself with Seth Rollins. So obviously Monday Night Raw, all you pro wrestling fanatics, is on tonight. So we'll see how that story develops. So that was Night 1. A lot better. Like I'm giving it like a B+, A- rating. I mean, that's how good it was. So you had that. But then Night 2. Night 2 actually started off pretty good. You had a triple threat women's championship match. You know, you had Io Sky defending her title against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. That was a great match. That was fun. What a way to start off Night 2. We're heading in the right direction. And then the Sin City Street Fight. Drew McIntyre defeated Damian Priest. That was also a good matchup. I mean, we're cooking here. We're doing good things here. The Fatal 4-Way Intercontinental Championship match. You had Dominic Mysterio. Obviously, you know, Rey Mysterio's son. Defeated Braun Breaker, who was the champion. Finn Balor and Penta to become the new champion. And he got over with the crowd. Dominic Mysterio is a heel. A full-blown heel. But that crowd went crazy when he became the new Intercontinental Champion. So, possible face turn? Maybe. We'll see. But that was cool. That was another good match. Randy Orton defeated Joe Hendry. Going into this matchup, Randy Orton did not have an opponent. He was supposed to fight Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens injured his neck. Had to get neck surgery. He's going to be out for a while. Very unfortunate. I would have loved to see that match. But Randy Orton beats Joe Hendry. It was only a couple minutes. Kind of stupid. But it is what it is. So you had that going on. Logan Paul defeating AJ Styles. Okay, you guys know how I feel about the Paul brothers. You know, it is what it is. Logan Paul, he's not my favorite. But you know what? As a pro wrestler, he's got some skill. Just like Jake Paul in boxing. He's not my favorite, but he has some skill in boxing. Some. Not extravagant. He's not the worst, but he's got some skill. Definitely not my favorite. But Logan Paul, going back to pro wrestling for a minute here, he defeated AJ Styles. AJ Styles has been around for a long time. One of the best to ever do it. That was a decent match. And then you had the WWE Women's Tag Team title match. You had Lyra Valkyria. Yeah, Lyra Valkyria. Defeating... She came into this match with no partner. She was going up against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who were the champions. And then all of a sudden, you hear Becky Lynch's music hit, and she was Lyra Valkyria's partner, and they end up winning the tag team championship. So you have that going on. That was cool. We haven't seen Becky Lynch in a long time, so that was great to see her. But now we fast forward to the main event. Oh no, we have to talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin ramming his four-wheeler into the barricade. I think he knocked some fan over. I mean, I don't know. That guy probably had too many Steve Weisers. I don't know. Maybe, because he is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He drinks beer. I mean, we expect, right? Maybe don't go on the ATV. Don't drive a four-wheeler around the arena. But anyways, you had that going on before the main event. And that was pretty funny, actually. So you had Stone Cold returning, you know, announcing how many people were in the crowd. He rams his four-wheeler into the barricade, sends a fan back into their seats. Hopefully they're okay. I mean, I haven't heard anything update-wise on the fans. So hopefully they're okay. But yeah, that going on. But now we got to fast forward to the main event. So Cody Rhodes, the champion, going up against John Cena. John Cena, this is his last WrestleMania. April 20th, 2025. The last time you will ever see John Cena in a match at the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. He comes out plain as it can be. Black and white, and it's his name. John Cena. No video package, no montage, no homage to him and his career. Just plain Jane, John Cena, emotionless, all business. I'm handling my business tonight. You had that going on. And then Cody Rhodes, he comes out, pretty extravagant entrance, pretty energy-filled, lots of personality. And I'm watching this match, and I'm just like, okay, what's going to happen, right? The Rock's going to come back. Maybe The Undertaker might make an appearance. Maybe Stone Cold comes out and stuns The Rock like the good old days back in the Attitude Era. Yeah, those were great times, right? Maybe Seth Rollins comes out and interferes in this match. Maybe Paul Heyman sides with John Cena. You know, he's a recruiter, right? I'm going to be your wise man too, champ. No. What happened? The most exciting, I guess, interference of this match? Travis freaking Scott. Yeah, who? Exactly. Why is this bonehead out there interrupting this match? I didn't understand that. That was a thumbs down, in my opinion. I mean, it was a dud. It was horrible. Of all the people that could have interfered in that match, and I was expecting more action, more drama in terms of the interference and all the different people involved in the matchup. You bring out Travis Scott. No, The Rock's not there. Stone Cold, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. Get Becky Lynch out there. I don't care. Nobody. Travis Scott. That's the best they could do. I didn't understand it, dude. I mean, and you had that going on. You know, Cody Rhodes hits the crossroads on him. That's his receipt, I guess. No, Travis Scott needs to get punched in the face for what he did to Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber a couple months ago. But anyways, it's not a receipt when you've hit your finisher on him, in my opinion. You need to actually hit him, right? But, I mean, you had that going on, and then John Cena uses the belt obviously textbook heel tactic. Uses the belt, knocks Cody Rhodes out, throws the championship away, and that's how he becomes the 17-time world champion. So congratulations, John Cena. You deserve it. Despite how you won, you deserve it. You were my favorite growing up. I'm sticking with my guy. But after that, I thought I was going to see someone come out, like The Rock, come out and congratulate John Cena. No. That's it. Event over. So night 2, main event and ending, versus night 1, main event and ending. No comparison. It would be a disgrace. It would be an insult. Because last night, what I watched, that was lame. That was really lame. So we'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw tonight. I think Pat McAfee just had an interview with John Cena not too long ago, and with Paul Heyman. So I might have to watch that. Maybe get some context as to why we watched a horrible ending last night. But anyways, that was WrestleMania 41. The last time John Cena will compete at WrestleMania. He becomes a 17-time world champion. Beats Cody Rhodes. Good for him. John Cena, the man, the myth, the legend. Good for him. But yeah, that was just an awful ending to WrestleMania. And that's WrestleMania. That is the WWE Super Bowl. You have to have a better ending than that. So that's WrestleMania 41 for all you pro wrestling fanatics. I think that's the most we've ever talked about pro wrestling here on the podcast. But I had to mention it. There's significance. John Cena, last WrestleMania match, 17-time world champion. He's been around for 20 plus years. He was my favorite growing up as a kid. So we have to mention WrestleMania for a little bit. So that's all WrestleMania stuff. That's WWE stuff. Monday Night Raw on tonight on Netflix. Check it out. But now we got to talk about boxing. We got some boxing fights coming up. So April 26th, so this weekend. You got Chris Eubank Jr. going up against Conor Benn, 12 rounds. 2 middleweights going at it, so that's going to be a good one. And then May 2nd in New York City on the Zone pay-per-view. You got Ryan Garcia going up against Rolando Raleigh Romero, 12 rounds, junior middleweights, or welterweights, excuse me. Obviously, you remember Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney going at it last year. That was a crazy fight, right? So you had that going on. Ryan Garcia competing, and then the next day, May 3rd, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, a title fight. Canelo Alvarez back in action against William Skull. 12 rounds for Alvarez's WBC, WBO, and WBA super middleweight titles, and Skull's IBF super middleweight title. So undisputed middleweight title. Who's going to win? Canelo Alvarez, William Skull. I got Canelo Alvarez. I can't go against them. You have that going on. So a couple fights there. And then obviously, the women's fight going on in July in New York, Netflix. That was announced a few weeks ago. Another title fight. This is the third time these two women have gone against each other. Katie Taylor going against Amanda Serrano. 10 rounds for Taylor's undisputed women's junior welterweight championship. Taylor has won the past 2 fights against Serrano. A lot of people are complaining about this fight. Why does Amanda Serrano deserve another shot? I mean, I get it. Katie Taylor won 2. The 2 previous times these two have met. I understand. But, I mean, that last fight, back in November, same card as Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, that was god-awful. We don't need to talk about that again. But Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, 2. Best fight on that card, by the way. Katie Taylor, I don't know how she won that fight. And I get it. I'm not a boxing expert, but Amanda Serrano definitely landed more shots and more significant strikes. Yeah, it's good that, you can do damage when you cut someone's eyebrow, and then you can just dig your hair into her eyebrow where she can't see, and it affects her fighting. And, how many times did you lead with your helmet? Jesus. How many times did you lead with your head? How many times did you hold Amanda Serrano? I mean, we all saw it, right? But, people are defending Katie Taylor, and it is what it is. But I really hope Serrano wins this one, just to prove the critics wrong. I mean, if she does lose, then it's like, okay, we need to move on. We need to move on in the junior welterweight division for the women's side. So that fight, the third time, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 3, July 11th in New York, Netflix. And then the next day, July 12th, New York. This has been announced. I think it was just announced just yesterday or this past weekend. Shakir Stevenson going up against William Sabata. Yeah, Cepeda. William Cepeda. 12 rounds for Stevenson's WBC lightweight title. So that'll be a good one. He fought a couple months ago. Same fight card as Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Shakir Stevenson. He fought on that card. So he's going to fight in a couple months, July. So 2 good fights in July. You got 2 fights coming up in April. And you got April 26th this weekend. Chris Eubank Jr. going up against Conor Benn, 12 rounds. So Boxing Fanatics, check that one out. You got some good boxing fights coming up in the next couple of weeks. And now, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we have to end this episode today talking about the 2025 NFL Draft. Thursday night, 8 p.m., ABC, ESPN, NFL Network. It's live from Green Bay, Wisconsin, near Lambeau Field. It's going to be a good one. Last year it was right here in Detroit, Campus Martius, Detroit, Michigan. My cousin and I, John Bryce, shout out to him. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, and he has his own YouTube page. Great guy, absolutely phenomenal. It was a great moment. We were able to witness, the NFL Draft live from Detroit. It was fun. It was one of the best events I've ever been to. So that was last year. This year it's in Green Bay. I can't believe it's already here. It just felt like yesterday I was at the NFL Draft in Detroit. But a year ago now, this week. So you have that going on. Thursday, the first round starts. You got the draft order. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans got the first pick. 3-14 last season. They were god-awful. Will Levis, second round pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. So in 2 seasons with the Tennessee Titans. He has a 5-16 record, win-loss record. He has 21 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, 17 fumbles, and he's lost 10 of those. So he's not the answer. He likes mayo, so maybe mayo is affecting his game. I mean, he puts mayo in his coffee and he eats it with a banana. I mean, that guy's a kook. There's something wrong with that guy. I mean, that's disgusting. But I mean, this is not how a professional franchise needs to. I mean, this is not how a professional franchise operates. You are the quarterback of this team. You have to perform. Past 2 years, you haven't done squat, Will Levis. So bye-bye. Warm the bench, because Tennessee's got the first pick, and I do believe they're going to get Cam Ward. My opinion, they might get Abdul Carter. We'll talk about those guys in a couple seconds here, but Tennessee, they need a quarterback. You got a good one, a decent one, Cam Ward. And then Shadir Sanders, we'll talk about him. I'm not his biggest fan, but we'll talk about some of these guys right now. So some of the prospects for the 2025 NFL Draft. You got Cam Ward, Miami quarterback. Obviously, the Giants, who have the third pick, need a quarterback. They signed Russell Wilson, but he's getting old. Jameis Winston, he's on that team as well, but he's old as too. But he could learn, perhaps, from one of those guys, from one of the veterans. I don't know. We'll see. Tennessee, it looks like they need a quarterback now. Like the rookie quarterback, whoever they get, they might not even get a quarterback. They might get Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. But if Tennessee does go with a quarterback, maybe Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders or whoever might get this starting role right then and there. Who knows? And then Cleveland, you're tied in terms of contract with Deshaun Watson. You paid him all that money, and that guy's a bum. So maybe, I don't know. It's a crazy situation with the Browns. They are a franchise that's been struggling for years. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Cam Ward, Miami quarterback, last year, 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So he was a lot better with the ball control and the ball security, making better decisions this season, or last season, completing 67.2% of his passes. He had a 10-3 record as a starter. Those losses, obviously lost to Georgia Tech, 28-23, Syracuse, 42-38. in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. You lost to Iowa State 42-41, so that was a really good game there. But in those 3 losses, 0 picks. So he was smart with the ball, just couldn't get the victory. And then he won the first 9 games of the season. And he's 6'2", 219 pounds. I mean, Tennessee, first 3 first 3 slots. You got Tennessee at 1, Cleveland at 2, Cleveland Browns at 2. You got the New York Giants at 3, Patriots at 4. But they got Drake May over there, so they don't really need a quarterback. Jacksonville Jaguars, they got Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know. He's been dealing with the injury bug for most of his career. Inconsistent play. Doesn't have the greatest offensive line, so doesn't have really a lot of weapons around him too. That could be another option. But Cam Ward, man, I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in this draft right now, or coming up on Thursday night. So we'll see what happens, but he's definitely a candidate there for first round draft pick. But then we got to talk about Abdul Carter. Obviously the number 1 edge rusher, defensive end in the NFL draft, comes out of Penn State University. 68 total tackles, 43 of them by himself. He had 12 sacks this year, 2 forced fumbles, and 4 pass deflections. So this guy was all over the damn field. This guy was the best defensive player in college football last season. He had a sack in each of the college football playoff games for Penn State. He had 1 against SMU, and then he had 1 against Notre Dame. 6'3", 250 pounds, so that's a big dude who can run, make plays. He's aggressive, athletic. That's a scary dude. And he's definitely going to be a top 3 pick. He should be, right? You never know. It's the NFL draft. A lot of things can happen. I saw last year the Atlanta Falcons, after just signing Kirk Cousins like a month earlier, they drafted Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? We couldn't believe it. It was crazy. But this draft night, don't expect anything different, because there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, a lot of surprises I think a lot of people are going to experience. But Abdul Carter, he's got to be a top 3 pick. He has to be, right? New York could use him on the defensive side. Tennessee could use him as an edge rusher, but we'll see what happens there. So you got Cam Ward, quarterback. You got Abdul Carter, edge rusher. Now we got to talk about one of the most dynamic players in all college football last season, Travis Hunter, cornerback, defensive back, and wide receiver. He plays both sides of the ball. Coming out of Colorado, he had 96 receptions last year, 1,258 yards, and 15 touchdowns. He was a baller. He was absolutely great. He was phenomenal last year. And then on the defensive side, 35 total tackles, 11 pass deflections, and 4 interceptions. This guy, I don't know how he has the endurance to play both wide receiver and defensive back. I guess Charles Woodson did it many years ago when he played for Michigan, but at the pro level, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's that's a lot to ask out of a young athlete like Travis Hunter. But here's something. He's 6 foot, 188 pounds, by the way. But he said something that kind of bothered me last week. He said that he would quit the game of football if he cannot play both ways in the NFL. You would quit. So you're saying that as these scouts, all these general managers from all these teams are looking at you saying, we might draft him. And then you're going to come out and say something so stupid, so boneheaded, like saying you would quit if you can't play both ways. Like, I'm telling you, nowadays it's the players taking over the asylum. For years it was the owners, the general managers. You do this and you do that. But now the players are dictating what happens. And as a result of that comment, the Giants general manager, Joe Shane, came out and he said he would let Travis Hunter play both ways. So maybe the Giants are going to draft him. Gives Russell Wilson or Jameson Williams or any of these other quarterbacks in the draft a target, right? Because he's a hell of a player. He's a hell of an athlete. But saying something like that, man, it's like, why? Why would you say something so stupid like that? I was not a fan of that when I heard about that last week. It's like, you gotta use this, man. Like, dude, if I was a general manager And I saw you say that. I don't care how great you are, dude. Get out of here. You're not even on my draft board anymore. I don't care. I don't care if you're the best athlete in the draft. You're going to quit because you didn't get your way? You're going to act like a little baby? Like a little kid? Wah. No, get out of here. Like, that was dumb. But I'm sure it's not going to affect his draft stock. It might. You know, some teams don't tolerate that garbage. But I was not a fan of that last week. So you have him, Travis Hunter, defensive back, wide receiver out of Colorado. He's a top prospect in the 2025 NFL Draft. You got Mason Graham, defensive tackle, coming out of Michigan. Go Blue. 6'4", 296 pounds. This guy's a beast. He's an animal. He led Michigan in the Michigan defensive line with 45 tackles this season, 3.5 sacks as well. He had 2 sacks against Minnesota. So you have that going on. Giants and Jaguars, they're looking for defensive linemen. He could definitely be a top 10 pick because you got the Giants at the number 3 spot. You got the Jaguars at number 5. So Mason Graham could be the first Michigan player being drafted in this year's NFL Draft. A lot of players coming out of Michigan. A lot of players coming out of Texas too, I've noticed a lot. So you have that going on. Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Giants, Jaguars, maybe might look into him. Now we got to talk about Shadir Sanders, another top quarterback in this draft, Colorado. 6'2", 212 pounds. He had 37 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He threw for 4,134 yards. He lost to BYU in the Alamo Bowl, 36 to 14. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that game, 208 yards. He threw for 208 yards. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan. I've seen him play a handful of games last year. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I get it. Sanders, he's Deion Sanders' son. He is a great athlete, but can he be the franchise player? Can he lead his team to success? I don't know. You know, Cleveland can look at him. The New York Giants, another possibility. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Shadir Sanders, not the biggest fan of him. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I don't trust him to be a franchise quarterback, right? I really don't. But we'll see what happens. But I'm wondering if he's going to get drafted in the top 10, within the top 10 picks. Like you got Tennessee, you got the Titans, you got the Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars, Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, and Bears. Well, the Bears probably not because they got Caleb Williams, and then the Jets got Justin Fields. But all those other teams, I mean, some of them need quarterbacks. Are they going to get Shadir Sanders, or are they going to stick with Cam Ward? I don't know. We'll see. But does Shadir Sanders become a top 10 pick in this year's NFL Draft? I don't know. I don't see it. So you have that. And now we got to talk about the tight end position. The top tight end in this year's draft, Tyler Warren, coming out of Penn State. 6'6", 256 pounds. This guy's a brick wall. This guy's a beast. 104 receptions, 1,233 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So he did really good this year with the Penn State Nittany Lions. He only had 2 touchdowns, though, unfortunately, in the college football playoff games. The quarterfinals against Boise State, he had 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions for 63 yards. Chicago's looking for a tight end. Need a key player, a key target for Caleb Williams, so maybe he doesn't get his ass kicked this year like he did last year with that god-awful offensive line. We'll see what happens. Maybe Chicago looks at Tyler Warren, the top tight end in this year's draft. So you have him going on. And then you got Ashton Jeanty, the best running back, the top running back in the NFL draft, running back out of Boise State. 5'9", 211 pounds. He's a bull. He's a beast. He's fast. He's quick. He's a good receiver too. Not only can he run you over and pound the rock, but he's a receiving threat as well. So he rushed for 2,601 yards, and that was second behind Barry Sanders' record for most rushing yards in a single season for college football. Barry Sanders still has that record with 2,628 yards. That was a talking point all last season with college football if Ashton Jeanty was going to break that record. He didn't, but still very impressive. And obviously Barry Sanders had that title for damn near 40 years now. 1988 with the Oklahoma State Cowboys was when he became the all-time leading rusher, or he set the record, for most rushing yards in a single season. So you had that going on. But despite all that, Ashton Jeanty still had 29 touchdowns on 374 carries. But then the receiving threat, as I mentioned, 23 receptions, 138 yards, and a touchdown. He had no fumbles and no fumble loss. So ball security is not a problem for this guy. This guy protected that ball like it was his own baby. So, a lot of scouts, GMs, owners, executives for all these teams watching some highlights on him. Ball security was an A+ for Ashton Jeanty. So maybe the Browns, they need a running back, perhaps. Patriots help out the quarterbacks a little bit. I don't know. We'll see where he ends up. But I see him as a top 10 pick for sure. But like I said, I've seen some crazier stuff over the years in the NFL draft. Obviously, Johnny Manziel dropped all the way down to the 22nd pick in the first round back in 2014. Yeah, 11 years ago. I don't know how I remember that, but he did. Brady Quinn back in 2007. He was supposed to be a top 10 pick. He dropped down late in the first round, I do believe. Was it first round or early second round? I don't know, but he dropped significantly. So we'll see. That was a quarterback. We're talking about running backs. They're a dime a dozen. You need, not a whole lot of like running back prospects. Obviously you need a quarterback, right? In the franchise. That's the key to success. But we'll see where Ashton Jeanty ends up. I say he ends up in top 10 somewhere. So we'll see. And then we got to talk about Jalen Walker, another prospect. 6'1", 243 pounds, linebacker out of Georgia. He had 61 total tackles last year, 2 pass deflections, 6.5 sacks. In the quarterfinal of the college football playoff last year against Notre Dame, he had 3 total tackles and 1 pass deflection, but unfortunately the Georgia Bulldogs lost to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in that quarterfinal of college football playoff. But another great prospect. I see Vegas Raiders, they need a linebacker. I see him going there. I see the Carolina Panthers. They got the 8th spot. The Vegas Raiders got the 6th spot. I see him going to one of those 2 teams. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And this is all according to ESPN. He can end up anywhere. Maybe he ends up with the Lions. The Lions don't have the pick till the 28th pick, but Brad Holmes, he likes to cook. He likes to make some interesting decisions as the general manager of the Lions. But we don't get that. We don't have a pick until the 28th pick this year, and obviously the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, have the last pick, 32nd of the first round Thursday night. But we'll see. Maybe, I don't know. And the Lions, I said it numerous times during football season. We need an edge rusher. We need someone to help out Aiden Hutchinson. Because when you have damn near 20 guys on the IR, a lot of them on the defense, 98% of them on the defense, how do you win the game? How do you win any games with that going on? We were just hit by the injury bug. It was bad luck. It was horrible. It was god-awful. But Aiden Hutchinson looks good. Saw some videos on him running around. He looks absolutely fantastic. But we need to build on that defense. But we'll see what the Lions do. Like I said, they don't, they're late first round. Most of the good players, most of the top prospects, I guess you can say, are going to be gone by then. But we'll see what happens. So you have Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. I see him going to the Raiders or the Panthers. But now we got to talk about the second top tight end in this draft, Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Go Blue. 6'6", 248 pounds. He was hit by an injury bug, unfortunately, this year, so he didn't get to play in the Ohio State game. We still ended up winning that one, so that was good. But he had 56 receptions, 582 yards, only 5 touchdowns. Like I said, he was hurt. But, Chicago looking for a tight end. Miami Dolphins, perhaps. The Indianapolis Colts. Give those, Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, whoever ends up being the quarterback for the Colts, a target. Give Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, a target. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Caleb Williams from Chicago. Give him another top target. So Colston Loveland, another Michigan football player. We'll see where he ends up with that. And then Will Johnson from Michigan. Go Blue. Again, defensive back, 6'2", 194 pounds. He was hit by an injury bug too. Very unfortunate because when he was at Michigan, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was the best player on that team. He missed 7 games last season, turf toe injury. Then he missed his pro day, a couple weeks ago. He had a hamstring injury. So, if you're a scout, GM, whatever, you're looking at this and you're just like, oh, man, our injury is going to affect his career, his play. Can we really bet on this guy? Like, how far is Will Johnson going to go down the draft with all these injuries? Very unfortunate. But, the Jaguars can use a defensive back. The Raiders, the Panthers, perhaps. But, they got 10 these teams are in the top 10 for draft picks. But Will Johnson, with all these injuries, might hurt his draft stock a little bit. He might be going down with all these injuries. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, like I said, a lot of Michigan players. Texas got a lot of talent coming out of there. Ohio State this year. So it's going to be a very interesting draft. So other key prospects in this draft, Michael Williams, edge rusher from Georgia. Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. Tetaroa McMillan, a wide receiver out of Arizona, the top ranked wide receiver coming out of this draft. So you have him there. Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama. Will Howard, obviously from Ohio State, quarterback. Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas. Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oregon. Matthew Golden, Texas wide receiver. Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver for Ohio State Buckeyes. And then Jaden Higgins, Iowa State University wide receiver. So lots of wide receivers. Quarterbacks for sure. Some tight ends, some edge rushers. So a lot of big names in this draft this year, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how this one plays out. But yeah, the first round of the NFL draft is this Thursday night, 8 p.m. on ABC, ESPN, or NFL Network. So that's the NFL draft. That's the Brise's view or preview of that. I'll be watching it for sure. Hopefully you guys will watch it as well. One of my favorite times of the year, watching these young athletes get drafted. But yeah, we'll see what the Lions do. Hopefully they do something good. Hopefully there'll be some surprises like they usually are, like there usually is in the NFL draft. So you have that going on. And that's it. That's how we end this podcast today. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal. So this episode obviously is going to be available. You already know the drill. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Look up Guys Time to Brise. I will be there. This episode will be out. But yeah, lots to cover today. Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, WrestleMania 41, Detroit Tigers. You got some boxing fights, some exciting boxing fights coming up within the next couple weeks. The NFL draft is this Thursday night. So all you football fanatics, check that one out. So yeah, lots to discuss today. But thank you for joining me. You guys are awesome as usual. Monday, April 21st, 2025. Enjoy the week. Kick some ass. And watch this episode in a couple hours here. All right, peace out, guys. The Brise is out. Have a good day. And until next time, Zach Brise is out of here. All right, peace. Have a good one, guys. You guys are amazing.